hone in on some of the technical things. We need some guys to step forward, some of those younger freshmen, sophomore guys, to see if we can, because we're going to be counting on some of them to play, especially against all these tempo teams. We need to develop some depth so we can roll people. At the linebacker position, obviously, Shaq and Johnny have played a lot. Princeton has played a lot. Travis is obviously out right now, but there's a lot of guys getting good reps, and I think those guys have continued to improve. Shaq, especially Johnny, Timu, having a real good understanding of what we're doing. And in the back end, Sean Parker's played a lot, but he's continuing to develop his game. Marcus Peters is a guy that we need to take the next step. He's got some ability and played some good football for us at times last year. And then the other secondary spots is really wide open, and a lot of guys getting good reps. So that will continue to be very competitive.
Are there any guys that maybe have surprised you, maybe come out of the shadows during the spring ball?
Not really. I don't know if I'm ready to point out any one guy yet. A couple of guys have done some good things, but we've still got a good amount of spring ball left. And I don't know if I'm ready to kind of say there's a spring surprise. Not yet.
How hard is it for the defense to keep up with such a fast-paced offense?
That's just part of the challenge of playing these tempo teams. That's why they do it. Because if it only takes one play and you either misfit a run or you have a bust coverage or whatever, and that's a touchdown, and the more plays they run, the more opportunities they get to score points. And so it stresses you physically, mentally, and that's important because that's what people do now. And for us to practice against it is really valuable for us.
I was just talking to John. He was saying, he needs to get physically right, mentally right. Can you
talk
John Timu. Can you talk a little bit more about him and what he's been doing here? How focused is he?
Yeah, John, since we've been here, my experience is when football is really important to him. He takes it very serious. He knows his strengths and weaknesses, and he's an important guy for us because he's very bright and does a lot in terms of getting people lined up and making the calls and communication. And for him, he's got a couple things he's got to continue to work on, but his attitude toward meetings, practice has always been very good.
Peters seems to play with a lot of swagger.
Marcus?
Yes,
yeah.
And some chirpiness.
Yeah.
And True was really quiet in that regard, but obviously confident as anyone. Do you have a preference for your DBs?
Preference on how I want them to play good.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. Everybody's different. Personality.
Yeah.
I think it's at that position in football in general. You get all types of personalities, and we want to make sure that we're competitive in the right way and not wasting energy on things that don't matter. If that helps, but everybody's got their own personality, and they're gonna, as long as they're playing, as long as they're competing and we're playing the right way and not overboard about how we act, then I'm not going to make a guy act a certain way. As long as he's within the framework of being a team guy and all that. We're not building robots. We're trying to get guys to play good football.
And what can you see in practice that will tell you that your guys are dealing with up-tempo better?
What can you see in practice? Whether we're executing late in practice, late in drives when fatigue can set in. That's why it's important to practice it. We're not where we need to be, but it's good for us to feel that fatigue and that when your mind, not only your body but your mind, and that's where you have so many late in drives or late in games. In those times, you can't bust. You got to make the play, and a routine play that you maybe made in the first series of the first drive. It's the same play in the fourth quarter on the 11th play of the drive, and you got to make the same play. And if you don't, it's a touchdown. So it's important to feel that.
How did the team come back after the break?
Probably like you'd expect a little bit. I thought they had pretty good focus and wanted to do the right things. They're probably the first practice shaking some of the rust off, and no matter what you do conditioning-wise over spring break and finals week, it's not the same as practice, so there was a reintroduction probably, and how the tempo again and all that, but I thought today wasn't quite as quick as we would have liked it, so we'll obviously address that in meetings and fix that Saturday.
Still during that breakthrough, you're looking from what as you're going over the film? Are you looking to tweak things? Or are you just looking to see how guys have performed? And then when you get them back for the second half, how do you sort of use that information then?
Just all the above. You're looking at your personnel, you're looking at the schemes, you're looking at where you need to continue to develop, who you think is maybe going to be able to help us in the fall, who maybe hasn't, who needs to be pushed, those type of things. So I think all of those play into it, and it gives us a chance to evaluate and make any necessary adjustments moving forward for the rest of spring football.
What, if anything, Justin, did you change? Did you say, oh, we got to do something?
You know, there'd be some small schematic things. We're not going to make a wholesale change halfway through spring ball. We're not doing that, but there's some things probably, and maybe how we're using certain guys and a couple position, not moves, but maybe working certain people in different spots to make sure when the fall comes that we have the best guys on the field. But again, with at this day and age, with the tempo teams, you've got to be able to have some depth and roll some guys in. So no matter what, that's imperative. You can't just play the game with 11 people. So.